we have this new concept of a modern fan, which are very player focused rather than say a team focused fan, right? Like you supported Denver Nuggets all your life, but nowadays you have fans supporting whichever teams LeBron James plays for, or even when it comes to other sports, they support Pune, Rising Pune Super Giants because Dhoni plays for them,
Yeah.
and then they switch back to Chennai when they're back in the IPL, or a AB de Villiers fan, or something like that. So,
Ronaldo.
is there a true concept of a true fan? Is there something called a true fan where you pick a team and stick by them whether you win or lose? Or
Like, what does that evolve to today? The definition of you're not a glory hunter, you're a true blue old school fan.
Yeah, I think you guys have to understand how much the world has changed, though. I mean, we are doing a basketball podcast with three people who didn't grow up in America,
Yep.
in three different time zones while we talk to each other. If you're Manchester United, then you'll be more than well aware of how Manchester United fans feel about about their fans not being from Manchester.
Yep.
Right. And the City fans used to be even more, full on about that.
right.
And so we don't live in that world anymore. And we also have more options as a fan. When we were growing up, you said 1998, so I'm a little bit older than you guys. I was sort of learning to support the sporting teams that I like between 1985 and 1993, between the age of about 5 and 13, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that stage, I did only have access to what I had access to.
Right.
I didn't know, if I didn't know about the cities, and I didn't know about the culture. It never even occurred to me as a 11 or 12-year-old that Denver had never been good before.
Mm-hmm.
Little things like that. If they seemed to be putting together a bunch of basketballs that I really liked, and my favorite basketball was there, so I followed that team. I mean, when LeBron did that, I remember being on Twitter, and I didn't tweet much about basketball in those days, but tweeting it and just going, guys, he's going to win a championship, and no one's going to give a shit.
Correct. Yeah.
He's just going to win like a bunch of championships, and no one's going to give a shit that he didn't do it the right way. Someone like Stephen A. Smith will yap and yap and yap about it, but realistically, in the long run, no one cares. No one cares that Kevin Durant did that. Everyone still thinks Kevin Durant and LeBron James are the two best players in the NBA, right? Absolute nonsense to think, kind of anything else. And I think that once you learn a lot about the sport, and maybe the advent of fantasy sport played a part, but the advent of the internet,
right,
you kind of realize the players have to look after themselves. I mean, if you want to bring it back to Denver, Jeremi Grant has made a horrible decision if he ever wants to win an NBA title by leaving Denver. Now, I don't know if Denver would have won, but if you look at, we didn't, but you're saying money, but he got offered the same money from Detroit, by Denver. Yeah. He got offered $20 million per season by Denver and $20 million for Detroit.
Yeah.
Now, why did he pick Detroit? Because essentially he can be the number 1 or 2 ball usage guy over there. And he's like, that's what I want to be. Now that's fine. And we now accept that. Had that happened 3 or 4 years ago, I think, maybe 10 years ago, I think everyone would have been like, what on earth has happened here? But we now understand that Jeremi Grant is like, look, I could have won a championship, but I actually think I can be a better basketballer if I leave Denver and I become the center of an offense. Now, he could be wrong, and he could have made a horrible mistake. But to be fair, what is Jeremi Grant doing? He is betting on himself.
Yeah,
he's making a decision based on what he thinks is best for him and his basketball. And he obviously thinks he can average 22 points a night and be the main man on a rebuilding team that perhaps can become quite good.
Yeah,
I think he's wrong, and he's probably given up a chance of winning a championship. And in 5 years' time, he'll look back and just go, oh, I made a mistake, especially if any one of Bol, MPJ or RJ Hampton come off, and he's going to be looking back at that starting lineup going, that's an NBA winning starting lineup. But I don't think there was a few Denver fans that were upset, and there's certainly a few basketball people that needed convincing from Jeremi Grant as to why he did it. But once we understood, I think we all went, that's fair.
Yeah.
10 years ago, everyone would have been like, no, team first, team first, team first.
Yeah.
Denver Nuggets don't care about Jeremi Grant. They're just an organization trying to make their next win. And I think fantasy sports, the internet, the fact that we know how the sausage is made, all those sorts of things now, we now understand that if you're James Harden, and Steph Curry might be next, and Giannis is not far away, and you get to, 30, and your team, or 32, and your team isn't going anywhere, you're just like, why would I spend 2 years here putting up numbers. I know I can put up numbers. I now want to win a championship. And if you're Jeremi Grant, you might be like, yeah, I've got more of a chance of winning a title in Denver over the next couple of years, but they've still got to get past LeBron.
Yeah.
In 4 years' time, I might have created something incredible with Detroit, and I'll be a better player, and I'll be the best basketballer that I can be. I'm going to back myself. And I just think that all of that has seeped through to fans. Fans now get that. You now have a brand, brands with players, and, players have their own, social media and all those sorts of things that weren't available. It makes sense, I think, for young sports fans to sort of do that. And then you've got the fact that if you're from fucking Hyderabad, what connection do you have with the Bay Area or with Los Angeles?
Mm-hmm.
And so if your favorite player leaves, it doesn't matter. And,
it's easy to put. Yep.
I still liked Denver after Dikembe left, but him leaving meant that I straight away had to be interested in Atlanta and Philly and wherever the fuck else he bounced around for many, many different years, right? And I had to. So straight away, even though I think I had a Rodney Rogers, jersey, and I had a Jalen Rose jersey, and I had a Denver jacket. I never had any of that stuff with Dikembe's other teams, but.
Right.
Straight away, I'd been open up as a fan. And I think those sorts of things happen right across the board now, even more so. And if you've got a league where you sign a Supermax 5-year contract and you can be traded almost from the first day, why would you not move on?
Yep.